Alright, training slide set, electric motor division, switch, locomotive 1, switch 1, locomotive from 1941 manuals. Shows the EMC AMD S1 locomotive, electric motive, core plate 1945. Direction and designation: left and right side of the locomotive are to the engineer's left and right. He sits on the cab face at the front of the locomotive. The rear end of the cab, front end is the hood end. For engine direction designation, see Bulletin 150. Has a 6.567 engine, 15,600 pounds. Main generator, 11,110 pounds. Exhaust manifold, 435 pounds. Auxiliary generator with sheaves, 755 pounds. Type WXE compressor, 1,200 pounds. Hood, 6,022 pounds. Four-wheel trucks, 33,080 pounds. Traction motor, 6,300 pounds. Lube oil cooler, 299 pounds. Track gauge, 4 and 8.5 inches. Length of overcoupler pulling faces, 44 and 5 inches. Width of overall sill, 10 foot. Maximum height above the rail, 14 foot 5 inches. Platform height above the rail, 4 foot 7.5 inches. Height of the cab floor above the rail, 6 foot 10 inches. Length of the operator cab, 6 foot 6 inches. Width of the operator cab, 9 foot 11.5 inches. Width of height of power plant hood roof above rail, 11 foot 8 inches. Width of power plant compartment, 7 foot. Wheelbase truck, 8 foot. Truck centers, 20 foot 2 feet. Number of drivers, 4 pairs. Diameter of drivers, 40 inches. Size of journal, 6.5 by 12 inch. Minimum curve radius, 100 foot. Gear ratio, 15 to 62. Alright, speed maximum permissible speed, 45 miles an hour. Weight, total weight fully loaded, 198,000 pounds. Total weight light, 191,000 pounds. Weight on the journals, 100%. Journal loading per driving axle, 42,000 pounds. Capacity starting traffic of effort at 25% adhesion, 50,000 pounds. Supply fuel oil, 600 gallons. Cooling water, 135 gallons. Lubricating oil, wet sump, 85 gallons. Lubricating oil, dry sump, 60 gallons. And sand, 28 cubic feet. Shows the duplex filter air, the water level gauge, water pressure gauge, water drain valve, lubricating oil tank, hood interior, front engine, right hand side, 600 horsepower, switching locomotive plate 194.8. Alright, then it shows the cab interior, the right side, plate 194, 1 headlight switch, 2 horn cord, 3 light switches, 4 windshield wiper, 5 instrumental panel, 6 sanding valve, 7 engine shutdown lever, 8 the bell cord, 9 independent breaker, independent brake, 10 shutter level, 11 control stand, 12 bell valve, 13 automatic brakes, 14 sun vision, 15 control switches, 16 reducing valve, 17 high voltage cabinet, 18 center BRG lubricator, 19 feed valve, 20 double heading cutout. Hood interior from the left hand side of the 600 horsepower switching locomotive plate 1950. Alright, general arrangement of the 600 horsepower switching locomotive. Starting at the top left, you have the sand filler, the fireman seat, cab heater, voltage regulator, battery field, resistor, load jet regulator, water tank, fuel pump, duplex, fuel filter, oil cooler, sanding box, and then going clockwise, it's shutters, cooling fan, air compressor, lubricating oil tank, engine shutdown cylinder, magnet valve, diesel engine, main generator, auxiliary generator, instrument panel, shutter control, instrument panels, bright and dim switch, push button switch, engineer's seat, handbrake, sand filler, battery box, external charge receptacle. Alright, show the radiator assembly, half vents, water tank, overflow, filler line, roof filler, drain line, thermometer, drain valve, water pressure gauge, drain line, engine 567, generator to thermometer, cab, water heater if used, drain, and E and F and C, and A and B and G, cab heater, ball check valve, line outside of the steam generator. Our schematic lubricating oil pipe diagram from the front of the locomotive. Down to the left-hand corner. Drain pipe, plug, drain, strainers, filler, vent, oil tank to water tank, oil coolers, 50-pound relief valve, emergency engine shutdown, cylinder engine shutdown, magnet valve, piston cooling pressure, lubricating pressure gauge, 2-load pilot regulator, piston cooling and lubricating pump, scavenger pump, engine airbox drain, engine sump, drain plug, lines, overflow. Alright, schematic lubricating oil pump diagram. From the front of the locomotive on the bottom, pipe strainer oil tank, base kit, 50-pound relief, oil cool tank, engine shutdown, cylinder engine magnet shutdown, oil line gauge, oil filter, overflow line, pipe plug, piston cooler, lubricating pump, airbox drain, scavenging, drainage plug, engine sump, drain, to load pilot rev, voltage regulator, lubricating oil pressure gauge. Alright, schematic fuel oil piping pump, front of locomotive, emergency front cutoff valve, oil filter, motor, cloth filter, inlet pressure gauge, outlet fuel pressure, 60-pound relief valve, centered bronze filter if used, fuel supply, fuel cross line, 5867 engine generator, cross low fuel pressure gauge in cab, 5-pound relief valve, heater fuel tank, to heater, enlarged view of the drainage pipe, filter, upper level, lower level, the pipe plug, drain, fuel tank, vent, and sump. Our electrical cabinet, battery voltmeter, wheel slip resistor, battery ammeter, battery charging contactor, battery field contactor, auxiliary generator fuse, battery field fuse, ground relays, control, batteries fuse, generator field contactor, wheel slip relay, reverser, starter contacts, ground relay, main battery switch, charging fuse, engine start, fuse, reverse current relay. Alright, at the top, battery and voltmeter. The voltage unit of electric pressure for the higher than the pressure voltage of battery of the more than it will force through a wire coil, lamp, or other device. Battery ammeter load. Ampere unit of the amount of current in circuit with the current flow over the source of the one wire and flows back to another. Battery ammeter load and resistance. The resistance measured in ohms is the holding back quality of the circuit. The circuit in low resistance will allow the large current to flow and vice versa. Battery. What objects connected with the same current flows through after the other, they are in a series. The current is the same anywhere in the circuit. Battery. When objects are connected across the source of the current within each of the independent of the other, they are parallel. Currents and the source of the total of the currents following through all the objects across the line. Battery, motor field, resistor, motor armature. This device connects the parallel sum of the equipment, thus passing the portion of the current which would otherwise through the equipment. It is a shunt. Common electrical symbols for the battery of 3 cells. A contactor relay, motor generator field coil, motivator generator arm, fixed resistor, variable resistor, lamp bulb. Receptacle, electrical outlet, push button switch spring return, snap toggle switch. Contactor main contact with blowout coil. Single pole, double pole, knife switch. Normally open interlock, normally closed interlocked. Ammeter with shunt and voltmeter. Fuse. Wires not connected, wires connected. Temperature switch. Thermocouple. Then shows the starting circuit, the main battery switch, the engine starting switch, control switch, 60 fuse, 40 fuse, battery, line contactor, push button, 15, 30 amp fuses, reverse and forward, reverse handle, the start and positive from the main generator communicating differential starting field, start and positive, knife switches to start and positive and negative resistor to the main battery switch, which has an ammeter on that, and they are connected to the line the battery. Alright, battery charging circuit. The charging set receptacle, battery field with the battery charging resistor, main battery switch, battery charging resistor, battery charging contactor switch, reverse current relay with a resistor, toggle switch, 150 amp, the communication field with auxiliary generator, voltmeter on the auxiliary generator field resistor, voltage regulator, and torque lighting circuit. Battery charging receptacle, 32 volt receptacle, 60 amp fuse, main battery switching amping meter, 10 amp, and receptacle, wheel slip light, 94 ohms on the resistor wheel slip relay, and it has the headlight, front light, right, rear dim light, number lights, gauge light, cab lights, and they connect to the engine, and then on a toggle switch, they go to the engine room light switch, which has the engine room lights, cabs light, and the cab lights are the gauge lights, and the ground light circuits are all on a 15 amp fuse switch with the number lights and resistors of the and headlight and front rear, also with the bright, medium, and dimness. Alright, generator field switch of the battery, the main battery switch, battery charging minute to amp, the resistor to a 60 amps of the battery field contactor, then the 60 amp goes to a control generator field switch, which has 15 and 30 amp on the throttle switch, and the reverse interlock and reverse handles, which go to the throttle switch, wheel slip relay, down relay, which has open contact relays, field shunt, and field shunt contactor resistor, discharge resistor 400 ohms, shunt field resistor differential, communicator field, shunt field, the main generator, and then the battery field is around the main generator, which has a battery field discharge resistor, battery field contactor, interlocker, and a load regulator. The electrical accessories, main battery switch to the battery, goes to the 60 amp, which goes through a fuel pump, which goes to the electrical air compressor governor, and a cab heater, which goes low oil pressure switch on a push interlocking open engine shut magnet valve, fuel motor, pump motor, and cab heater, and then the motor for the water heater is on a switch which opens with the battery switch, and then it has an ammeter. The motor control circuit with the battery, main battery switch at 60 amp and an ammeter, 60 amp fuse ammeter, which go with the reverser forward resistor, reverser magnet valves, which have a reverse handle for the neutral and forward reverse, which is on a control switch at 30 amps toggle button. From the reverser and forward, hence the traction motors, fields, and reverse contactors with the traction motor armatures 1, 2, 3, and 4. Line switch meter shunt panel to the traction motors and the traction motor reverse contactors. Go from the meter shunt panel to the meter generator communicator differential field rising from the traction motors. Alright, high voltage cabinet. Starting at the bottom, you have reverse contactor traction motors, 1200 ohms, wheel slip relays, wheel slip relay resistors, number 1 and number 2 traction motor fields, a ground to the ground relay operating coil switch, and shunt field contactor, shunt field discharge resistor, shunt field resistor, differential field, the communicator field, main generator, shunt field, meter shunt panel, and the shunt field goes to the line switch, goes to the traction motor. That's a high voltage circuit. High voltage circuit, full circuit, meter shunt, main generator, communicator differential field, shunt field, and then the double knife switches, which go to the shunt field resistor, shunt field contactor, shunt field resistor, ground relay operating switch and ground, line switch goes to number 1 and number 2, wheel slip relays, and a resistor, traction motor fields, and then it goes to the other wheel slip resistors, and the traction motor armature 3 and 4 reverse contactors go back to the main generator differential field on the outside circuit. High voltage generator details. All right, you got a line switch, shunt field, meter shunt panel, main generator, communicator differential field, shunt field resistor, shunt field contactors on double knife switches, shunt field discharge 400 resistor, ground relay operating switch, and ground. High voltage generator motor 1 and 2 shows traction motor 1 and 2 with a 700 adjustable rheostat and with a wheel slip relay resistors, and then they're set at 1200. So we have, and then you have field resistor, traction motor field resistors, F1, FF1, F2, FF2, line switch, and then the top was the continuation of your high motor fields. This shows the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4 motor voltage details. Full schematic circuit is pretty much everything that we had before put into this one. And then we have a compressed air circuit, which of the air piping schematic, windshield wiper, strainer, cab control, bell, horn, cord. That's your pretty much your auxiliary, and then you have your forward reverser sanding valve, which goes to the sanding air and engine back and the engines around the wheels. Um, the pneumatic contactors, reverser, LS, pressure gauge, strainer, control, air reservoir, feed valve, strainer, check valve, cutout valve, and that goes into the air reserve number 2 and number 1. Compressor governor, air compressor, 150-pound relay valve, cooling coils, air reverser in number 1 and number 2 to cut out, and then dirt collector to brake system. Compressed air compressor once again, a little bit bigger. Shows the air manufacturer bulletin, air piping diagram. Alright, brake adjustment, 4-wheel switcher truck, Falcrum double acting air cylinder brake set at 8 inches, 2 inches apart for the brake set and piston travel. You have your hanger, Falcrums, release position, 8 inches, 2 1/4 A and part, and then you have position A and your brake release position 3/8 away from the end. So your brake adjustment for the 4-wheel switchgear above the diagram show the condition of the new wheel shoe that is where occur with adjust the hands and slack adjust to maintain approximately 2-inch piston travel. When required, pin A, 1 hole in the hand select adjuster move back for the new position, allowing 2 1/4 inches in the slot applying new shoes. Or show the truck clearance minimum 1/8. Show the shim spring tight internal box, side bearing pedestal, center plate. Alright, your shim spring tight internal boxes, nominal 1/8, minimum 1/16, maximum 1/4. Per side, nominal 1/38, minimum 1 1/4, nominal 6 1/2, minimum 6 1/4 diameter on the axle. Truck clearance, side bearings and pedestal, front nominal 1/4, rear nominal 1/2 per side. Show side bearing pedestal 1/8 inch, nominal 16. Then per slide, and then show the nominal 1/16, 3/16 of an inch inside the pedestal. Your center plate has a nominal 1/32 inch, maximum 1/8 inch per side, nominal 1/2 inch, minimum 1/4 inch. Alright, throttle linkage. Show the parallels of the locomotive 14 degrees. You have your control stand, which goes into the engine shutdown lever, running position, throttle position, and then this goes to expansion joints. And then they run parallel to the locomotive at 6 to 90 degrees, and plate oil pipe drains to the lube oil tank, piston travel, lube oil cylinder from main bearing, and approximately vertical engine dead to the governor. And this was train slide set locomotive division SW1 locomotive from 1941 manuals, and that is the end. Testing, 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 testing.